Hi guys. So I just wanted to update you guys on the Diddy case. In fact, no, I'm not updating you on the Diddy case because this isn't really an update. It's really me wondering aloud how his team is handling his assets because I just heard on another YouTube channel that his family has started to fight over his money. Apparently the mother wants to be in charge and one of the sons wants to be in charge. And then I heard on another channel how, they're talking about possibly freezing his assets to protect the rights of victims, right? So I started thinking to myself, wow, I mean, if you are legal counsel on a case like this, I mean, where do you go? And frankly, I don't know where you go because I think at this point for him to try to do asset protection, I mean, you have a right to protect your assets from creditors and, scavengers and bounty hunters, certainly under normal circumstances, right? The problem is because all of these lawsuits have already been filed against this defendant, if he were to initiate any of the normal asset protection strategies, he could be accused of fraud, of fraudulent transfer of his assets to evade creditors. And then the courts would then just bust open whatever that vehicle he was using to protect his assets. So, for example, normally if you're trying to protect your assets, there's certain things you're going to do. I think with his one of his homes, I think in Florida, there's something called the Homestead Act. So I think that house is safe. You can't take someone's main residence in Florida, right? And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on any of this, you guys. I'm just talking. Don't quote me on any of this, okay? Please. But I think there's something called the Homestead Act in Florida, and his home in Florida, which is worth somewhere in the region of $50 million, is protected no matter what happens. No matter what happens, his creditors can't touch it. If any of these lawsuits come to fruition, they take him to court, they go through a civil trial, and they win the lawsuit against him, then he is open to judgment, right? And to satisfy the judgment, they can do a whole lot of different things to get at his money. So, in terms of the home in Florida, however, no matter what happens, they can't get to that home legally because that's his main home. So that's protected, 50 million bucks. But he's said to be worth somewhere in the region of 400 million bucks. And it's apparently there's some infighting. I don't know if this is true or not. It wouldn't be surprised me either way, really, if they are fighting, if they're not. I mean, if they're a loving, kind family just waiting for daddy to come home, or if they're starting to think, oh my God, daddy may never come home and I want my share of this money. And so they start fighting for control. I wouldn't be surprised about that either. If he has not already sought to protect his assets from potential creditors, and I mean, I would assume that somebody in his position would have been, if he were smart, would have been doing that along the way anyway before he was even sued for anything, especially because he knows better than anybody else what his activities are behind closed doors. I mean, we're only now learning about what was going on with his girlfriend Cassie and all of these other people, if these allegations are true, that a lot of, very, you know, I mean, alarming, concerning things were going on at a minimum. So you would think that he would be smart enough if he's doing that kind of stuff to also protect his assets in things like LLCs, in things like trust accounts, like you have something called, for example, the domestic asset protection trust in some states, and it allows you to protect your assets, your money, your property from future creditors, right? So that you can pass your property to your children, your family members, or whoever you want to pass it to. And so according to what I've been reading, you can set something like this up, but you'd have to have set it up before you were sued, I believe. I don't think, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that he could set it up now and not be accused of fraud or making fraudulent transfers. Also, limited liability companies, of course, if he commingled his personal assets with any of the business assets in this kind of structure, they can just pierce through the LLC veil anyway. But normally, you can structure you can create like a legal structure to protect your personal assets from creditors with LLCs. And I'm sure that Bad Boys, whatever it's called, is either an LLC or a corporation that would be separate from his personal assets. So the question then becomes, who are they suing? I mean, I know they're trying to say that, Bad Boys Entertainment was a whole racketeering, whatever, which would blow everything up anyway. You can't really cover yourself from liability if it's shown that the whole thing was a racketeering conspiracy anyway. But normally an LLC would help. Insurance policies would also help. Like if he took out a huge insurance policy with his mother or one of his children or all of his children, like take out insurance policies in the names of each one of his 7 children, and each of these policies is 20 million bucks. That's how much is that? That's 114 million. I don't know. My math is don't quote me, right? But that's a way to protect assets. We're talking about 400 million. You open a $20 million insurance policy for each of your 7 children. Um, what else could you do? Um, certain retirement plans he could have also set up, like 401ks, IRAs, and so on and so forth, could have also been set up. But they, under certain circumstances, they could maybe get through those as well. Also offshore trusts. I'm sure that he must have money in places like I don't know, the Bahamas or some kind of offshore tax haven, or place where people, the Cook Islands. I don't know. But yeah, I think that if he hasn't already done these things, I do think it's too late because he will be accused of fraud and fraudulent transfer. So hopefully he was smart enough to do that before he was even sued, because he must have, if all of these things are true, he must have anticipated that at some point it was all going to catch up with him. Anyway, you guys, that's all for this one. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye. And if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love it if you subscribed. I know that some people, like I get comments like, oh,